In the center of Chicago, under a road, some of the city's homeless attempt to keep warm. Their possessions, including bundles of clothes and blankets, lie strewn across the sidewalks. This is where many of Chicago's homeless are preparing for a harsh winter.
Chicago, a city that never sleeps. But the truth that hits the hardest is the one most people walk past without ever noticing. Imagine this for a moment. The wind is cutting through the air, temperatures dropping below freezing, snow gathering on sidewalks like a cold, silent blanket. And just a few steps away, on those same sidewalks, under bridges, along busy roads, people are trying to live their entire lives without a home. Have you ever stopped and wondered, how does someone survive a winter night inside a thin tent on a frozen street when every gust of wind shakes the fabric protecting them? When passing cars remind them the world is moving forward, while they remain stuck in a struggle they never chose. Living on the sidewalk isn't a decision, it's a last resort, a quiet fight to make it through one more night. And this is happening while the city's budgets climb higher every single year, while plans, programs, and policies fill pages and pages. Yet somehow, $65,000 people in Chicago are still trying to survive without a doorway, without a room, without a safe place to rest. This isn't just surprising, it's shocking. Because behind Chicago's bright skyline, another world exists, a world that rarely appears in headlines, a world most people never fully see. And the questions only get heavier. How did so many end up on the streets of one of America's biggest cities? Where did the system break? And why didn't help reach the people who needed it most? The snow keeps falling, the cold keeps spreading. But the stories of the people on these streets carry a weight that no winter storm could ever match. This isn't just a crisis, it's a story of a city, a system, and thousands of lives caught in between. And every night, one quiet thought echoes through these frozen streets. How will I survive tomorrow?
Say are the biggest barriers or hardest parts of experiencing homelessness?
When it gets really cold.
That's true.
And and you get wet,
Yeah,
and you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
That's and there's nobody. It sucks. Or when you need to use the bathroom and you have no bathroom.
That sucks too, yeah.
That's
The silent numbers. How Chicago reached 65,000 without stable housing. Let's talk openly now, because this part of Chicago's story deserves honesty, depth, and full attention. The truth is, the crisis we see today, the tents, the sidewalks, the people trying to survive harsh winters without shelter, did not appear suddenly. It grew slowly, over years, and it grew in ways most people never noticed until the numbers became impossible to ignore. When we say 65,000 people in Chicago are without stable housing, it's not just a statistic. It is the result of a long chain of pressures, failures, and circumstances that pushed more and more people toward the edge. For years, the cost of living in Chicago quietly climbed higher. Rent in many neighborhoods increased faster than wages. People who were living paycheck to paycheck, working jobs, raising families, doing everything they could, found themselves struggling to keep up. Losing a job, facing a sudden medical expense, or even a small financial setback started pushing families into situations they were never prepared for. Many didn't fall straight into the streets. They stayed with friends, moved from couch to couch, lived in cars, searched for affordable rooms, and hoped things would turn around. But when every option is temporary, the street becomes the only place left. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the support systems meant to help people were already overwhelmed. Shelters filled up quickly. Waiting lists for affordable housing became longer than ever. Community organizations tried their best, but the need kept growing faster than the resources. Even as the city invested more money each year, it often wasn't enough, or it wasn't reaching the people who needed it at the right moment. And once someone falls into homelessness, climbing back becomes incredibly hard. Because everything a person needs to rebuild, documents, stability, daily routines, safety, starts slipping away. This is how the crisis expanded. Slowly, quietly, one person at a time. While the skylines stayed bright and the downtown streets stayed busy, thousands of people were slipping into deeper uncertainty. Some lived in tents because they had no other choice. Some turned to temporary shelters only to find them full. Some simply walked the city at night, searching for warmth. And all of this was happening while Chicago continued to move forward, unaware of how big the shadow behind the city had grown. So when we talk about 65,000 people without stable housing, we are not talking about one problem. We are talking about rent, healthcare, wages, mental health services, addiction support, affordable housing shortages, and a system that couldn't keep up with the growing need. We are talking about thousands of individuals who were doing their best until life pushed them into a place where survival became the focus of every single day. And now the real question becomes clear. If the crisis grew this gradually and quietly over so many years, why didn't we respond with the same urgency, the same scale, and the same attention it truly required? The human reality, what daily life on Chicago's streets truly looks like. When we talk about homelessness, many people imagine a simple image: someone sitting on a sidewalk, someone asking for help, someone in a tent. But the real experience, the daily life of a person surviving on Chicago's streets, is far more complex, far more emotional, and far more human than most people ever realize. And today, I want to explain it to you openly, slowly, so you can truly feel what this life looks like from the inside. Imagine waking up in the early morning, not in a bedroom, not on a bed, but in a tent or under a bridge, where the first thing you feel is the cold pressing against your skin. The city is waking up, trains are moving, people are rushing to work, but you're not thinking about routines or plans. You're thinking about warmth, about safety, about where you'll go next. Every single day starts with a simple question: what do I need to do just to get through today? For many people, finding a safe spot is the first challenge. A sidewalk or a tent might give temporary shelter, but it never offers security. People often keep their belongings close because losing even one small bag can mean losing everything they own. Imagine living in a way where every object you carry, blankets, clothes, documents, small personal items, is all you have left of your former life. And at any time, it can disappear because of weather, police cleanups, or simple chance. Then comes the challenge of basic needs: finding food, water, a restroom, a place to warm up for a moment. These are things most people never think twice about, yet for someone on the streets, each one requires time, effort, and constant searching. Many rely on community centers, churches, or outreach teams, but those resources can only do so much, and they can't be everywhere at once. And through all of this, there's the emotional weight. The feeling of being watched but not seen. The feeling of being close to thousands of people, yet still invisible. Some individuals deal with health challenges, both physical and mental, that become harder to manage without stability. Others face barriers like job loss, family separation, or struggles with substance use, and without proper support systems, these challenges can deepen over time. But none of these stories make someone less human. Each person is carrying circumstances, memories, and hopes that the world rarely takes time to understand. As the day turns into night, the struggle shifts again. Finding a safe place to rest becomes the priority. Chicago winters are unforgiving, and even in warmer months, the streets never fully feel safe. People listen to the sounds of the city, not for comfort, but to stay alert, to protect themselves, to survive. Rest is never deep, never peaceful, because the environment never truly allows it. And this is what we often forget. Life on the streets is not defined by laziness or choice. It is defined by survival. Survival in a world where every day requires strength, resilience, and an ability to endure challenges that most people will never face. So when we see someone living in a tent, or resting on a sidewalk, or carrying their belongings from one place to another, we're not seeing a moment. We're seeing a journey filled with hardship, quiet endurance, and a constant search for stability that remains just out of reach. And this brings us to the next difficult question we must face. If this is what daily life looks like, why hasn't our system built a path strong enough to guide people out of it? The system gap. Why billion-dollar budgets still struggle to fix the crisis. Let's speak honestly now, because this is the point where everyone asks the same question. If the city spends billions, why is the crisis still growing? And the answer isn't simple, because the gap isn't made of one failure, it's made of many small cracks that turned into one large one. Chicago invests huge amounts of money every year into housing programs, emergency shelters, outreach teams, and long-term support services. On paper, the numbers look strong. But when you place those numbers against the real-life needs of tens of thousands of people, that's when the gaps begin to appear clearly. One of the biggest challenges is timing. Help often arrives too late, after someone has already lost stability, lost opportunities, or lost access to the support that could have kept them safe. Once a person ends up on the streets, their situation becomes much harder to repair, and the resources needed become far greater. Another gap comes from coordination. There are many agencies, organizations, and departments working to help, each with its own process, rules, and limitations. But when these systems don't move together in a connected way, people can slip through the spaces between them. Someone may get housing assistance, but not mental health support. Someone may receive temporary shelter, but no long-term plan. Someone may qualify for help, but wait months before it reaches them. And then there is the challenge of capacity. Shelters can only hold so many people. Affordable housing units take time to build. Outreach teams can only cover certain areas each day. Even when the city tries to scale up its response, the crisis grows faster than the solutions can expand. Add to this the rising cost of living, rent increasing, wages not matching inflation, and basic essentials becoming harder to afford. These pressures create new waves of people entering unstable situations, sometimes faster than the system can respond. But the deepest gap, the one people rarely talk about, is the difference between policy and reality. Policies are written in offices. Reality happens on sidewalks, in tents, under bridges, in shelters, in hospitals, in community centers. And often, the two don't match. A policy may look effective on paper, but for someone living outside, facing health challenges or barriers to employment, or struggling without identification or transportation, that same policy becomes almost impossible to access. And when systems require paperwork, appointments, waiting lists, background checks, or long processing times, many people simply cannot keep up. So yes, the city spends billions. Yes, there are programs and plans. Yes, the intention is there. But when the crisis grows faster than solutions, when the process moves slower than the need, when resources don't align perfectly with real human circumstances, the result is what we see today. A system that tries, but cannot keep pace. And this leads us to the next part of the story, one that is emotional, complex, and deeply human. What happens when a city's efforts fall short and the responsibility falls on everyday people, communities, and neighborhoods to respond? Community versus crisis. How Chicago's residents are shouldering a burden too big to ignore. As Chicago's homelessness crisis grows, something powerful is happening quietly in the background. Something that rarely makes headlines but reveals the true heart of this city. While official systems struggle to keep up, it is often ordinary residents, neighbors, and local groups who step forward to fill the gaps. Walk through different neighborhoods and you'll notice it. A cafe offering warm meals in the early morning. A family leaving jackets and blankets on a corner for anyone who needs them. Churches extending their hours during cold nights. Volunteers checking on people in tents just to make sure they're safe. These gestures are not part of government programs. They come from compassion, from the simple belief that no one should face harsh weather or isolation alone. And yet, these small acts often carry more emotional weight than any policy document. They show a community trying to protect its most vulnerable members, even when resources are limited. But this quiet effort also creates a deep emotional conflict for many residents. They want safety in their neighborhoods, they want order, but they also want mercy. They want the government to step in with stronger solutions, but they also recognize that change is slow, too slow for the people living outside right now. So the responsibility shifts, sometimes unfairly, onto the shoulders of everyday citizens. People with jobs, families, and their own struggles still find the time to offer help because they can't ignore the crisis unfolding on the streets they walk every day. These acts of kindness show Chicago's humanity, but they also reveal a painful reality. Community compassion alone cannot solve a crisis this large. And that leads to the next question. If people are trying this hard, why does the crisis continue to grow? Life at the edge. How health challenges, addiction struggles, and unhealed trauma shape the crisis. To understand why Chicago's homelessness crisis keeps expanding, we have to look deeper than tents and sidewalks. The real story lies within the personal struggles people carry, struggles that slowly push them toward instability long before anyone notices. And these struggles are not simple. They involve health challenges, emotional wounds, and years of unaddressed trauma that the current system is not designed to heal all at once. Many people experiencing homelessness face medical issues that became difficult to manage without stability. Imagine trying to control diabetes, heart conditions, or chronic pain while living outside. Something as basic as keeping medication safe, staying warm, or maintaining a regular schedule becomes almost impossible. Small health concerns turn into serious problems because the environment offers no relief. Not having a stable place to recover creates a cycle where the body weakens and life becomes harder each day. Then there are individuals dealing with substance dependence. This subject is often misunderstood and judged harshly. But the truth is that many turn to substances while coping with stress, trauma, or emotional pain. Others develop addiction after losing housing or support systems. Substance dependence is a health issue, not a character flaw, and recovery requires stability, guidance, and long-term treatment. On the streets, where fear and uncertainty never fully leave, recovery becomes incredibly difficult. Emotional trauma is another deeply rooted factor. A large number of people living outside have faced experiences that left lasting scars: family instability, childhood hardships, violence, abuse, or sudden life changes. When trauma goes untreated, it follows a person through every phase of life. It affects decision-making, relationships, and the ability to trust or rebuild. Without support, the burden becomes heavier with time. These challenges are connected. A medical issue can lead to job loss. Job loss can lead to instability. Instability can worsen mental health. Mental health struggles can lead to increased substance use. Once the cycle begins, climbing out of it becomes incredibly hard without consistent help. This is why homelessness grows, not because people don't want help, but because the help available often addresses only one part of a much larger problem. Someone may get shelter, but no health care. They may receive medical attention, but no long-term housing. They may get temporary support, but no path forward. So when we see someone living outside, we're seeing a person fighting through layers of health challenges, emotional wounds, and survival pressure. And that leads us to an important truth. To solve homelessness, we must support the human being, not just the situation. Encampments, cleanups, and controversy. Is the city fixing the crisis or just moving it? As Chicago's homelessness crisis becomes more visible, the city faces a complicated and emotional challenge. What to do about the growing encampments appearing under bridges, along sidewalks, and throughout public spaces? These tents represent far more than temporary shelters. They are the final option for people who have nowhere else to go. But they also create difficult questions for the city, for neighborhoods, and for the people living inside them. When residents see an encampment, they often feel a mix of concern, fear, compassion, and frustration. Families want safe streets, businesses want stability, travelers want comfort, and at the same time, no one wants to see another human being living in harsh conditions, exposed to weather, uncertainty, and instability. This emotional tension shapes almost every public debate around homelessness. In response, the city conducts cleanups, organized efforts to remove tents, clear sidewalks, and relocate belongings. Officials often explain these actions as necessary for public safety, sanitation, and urban management. They emphasize that the goal is not punishment, but maintaining order and offering services. But for the people living in those encampments, the experience can feel very different. A cleanup often means losing the small amount of stability they have managed to build. A spot to sleep, a place to keep personal belongings, a familiar routine, or a support network within the encampment. And this is where the controversy begins. Supporters of cleanups argue that public spaces should remain functional and safe for everyone. Critics argue that removing tents without providing lasting alternatives simply shifts the crisis from one block to another. The central question becomes clear. Are we addressing homelessness, or are we just moving it to a different location? Encampments exist because shelters are full, waiting lists are long, and affordable housing is limited. When cleanups happen without long-term solutions, people often return to the streets, rebuilding their tents in different places. The problem doesn't disappear, it just becomes less visible for a moment. For many Chicagoans, this creates a painful realization. The city is stuck between maintaining public order and protecting the dignity of those who have nowhere else to go. And the people caught in the middle, those living in the encampments, are forced to move again and again, without the stability needed to rebuild their lives. So the controversy isn't really about tents. It's about a bigger question the city still struggles to answer. How do you balance safety, compassion, and long-term change without leaving anyone behind? A city on edge, fear, compassion, and the uncertain future of Chicago. As we come to the end of this story, we need to look at one final piece of the crisis, the emotions of Chicago itself. Because behind every headline, behind every tent, behind every cleanup or policy debate, there is a city full of people trying to understand what is happening around them. Chicago in 2025 is a city caught between two powerful emotions: concern for safety and compassion for those who are struggling. Residents walk the same streets where tents stand in rows. They pass individuals living without shelter on their way to work or school. They see the crisis growing in places that once felt steady and familiar. And slowly, a feeling begins to settle in. A feeling that the city they love is changing, and no one is certain where it's heading. Some residents feel fear. Fear that their neighborhoods are becoming less predictable. Fear that the systems they rely on are cracking. Fear that the crisis might spread faster than solutions can catch up. Others feel sorrow. They look at people living outside and wonder how many of them once had stable lives, jobs, families. How many simply fell through cracks that no one repaired in time. And then there are those who feel something even more complicated. A mix of frustration, empathy, and helplessness. They want to help, but they don't know how. They want solutions, but they don't know where they will come from. They want safety, but they also want mercy. They want the crisis to end, but they know it will not disappear overnight. This emotional divide is shaping Chicago's future. It is creating questions that echo across neighborhoods, city council meetings, shelters, and community groups. Can the city protect everyone? Will new programs be enough? How long can people survive in such harsh conditions? And what happens if nothing changes? The truth is that Chicago stands at a crossroads. On one side is a continued cycle of tents, cleanups, and temporary fixes. On the other side is the possibility of long-term solutions, affordable housing, mental health support, addiction recovery pathways, and policies built around human realities rather than quick appearances. And the direction Chicago chooses in the next few years will determine what its streets look like for a generation. This story began with frozen nights, billion-dollar budgets, and 65,000 people without a stable place to call home. But it ends with a question only the city, its leaders, and its people can answer. Will Chicago continue to manage the crisis, or finally transform it? Whatever comes next, one truth remains clear. Behind every tent, every street corner, every silent struggle, there is a human life waiting for change, and their story is not finished yet. Thank you for walking through this story with us. If this journey opened your eyes or touched your heart, then support the mission. Like the video, subscribe to Gobe Path Travel Documentary, and stay ready for the next story coming soon. A new city, a new reality, a new truth. See you in the next documentary.